Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm going to discuss how to choose a heavy bag. So check it out. Hey, what's up guys? Carlo here, and today I wanted to discuss how to choose a heavy bag. Now, getting right into it, there's a ton of different brands out there, size of heavy bags, which includes the weight of it, the shape of the bag, which also determines what kind of training it might be kind of geared towards. And then lastly is going to be kind of like the quality, the material that it's made of, and then the pricing of that heavy bag. So all of the things I just mentioned all factor into how you decide on which one you want to purchase, but hopefully this video will kind of shed some light, and then you can kind of go through the process of elimination to decide which one is the right one for you. But the first thing we're going to discuss is the purpose of the heavy bag. So the first thing you want to consider before anything else when you purchase a heavy bag is going to be the purpose of it. Now, there's usually two categories that the purposes fall into. It's going to be individuals that are into like your traditional boxing, where it's just using your hands. You're not going to be really using the lower portion of your body. And typically you can get away with just using a traditional style heavy bag, like a cylindrical 100 to 135 pound bag. I had that nozzle one back there. I'm sure you guys have seen me use it in previous videos. But that's kind of what you're geared towards. The other kind is the people that are into mixed martial arts, Muay Thai, kickboxing, anything that uses their legs. And then a longer banana bag style heavy bag is going to be much more effective and useful, because now you can utilize your knees and also your leg kicks. So you're not just working using your hands and your upper body. Now you have something that's lower. So you got to determine if that's what purpose you're going to be using it for. Because if you are going to be using it for kicks as well as punches, then getting a traditional heavy bag that sits higher off the ground probably isn't the best bet. You probably want to go with something longer that we can utilize everything as part of your arsenal and use that on the heavy bag. So first, determine the purpose of the bag. The next thing you want to do is consider what your budget is going to be. Now, by that I mean, what is the most you're willing to spend on a heavy bag? And once you kind of put that cap on it, from there you can narrow down your choices on what's available to you by the price. A lot of times if you don't do that, you might get kind of dragged into spending more than you originally budgeted for. So I think it's really important for you to determine what your budget is, and then from there you can filter out the results to see what falls in your budget. And then it's much easier, it's much smaller sample size than trying to look through everything without knowing your budget. So determine what your budget is. The next thing to consider would be the shape and density of the heavy bag you're getting. Now, going on to shape, there's definitely different styles and shapes of heavy bags. You have your traditional cylindrical bag, like I mentioned earlier. You also have body snatcher bags, or they call them teardrop bags. They're more oval. I've done a review on the ringside version of that. Those are rounded off, and you can use your jabs, your straight punches with that, which are pretty effective. But the real big purpose of that is that it allows you to work a lot on your defense, because the bag is typically much lighter, and so it swings, so you can work on slipping, getting in, bobbing and weaving underneath the bag. And it's really excellent for uppercuts and hooks. Typically they're not as densely packed as some other bags, so you can really work on slipping and bobbing and weaving underneath, and really hitting it with your uppercuts and your hooks. Then there's the other types of heavy bags that have kind of like an angle to them. So they come down cylindrical, then they kind of taper in, and then they kind of come down. And those are really meant for straight punches and your uppercuts. The more angled punches you can use on those, they're typically a little bit lighter in weight as far as the bag goes. Straight on punches and body shots are good, but they tend to weave and move around a lot more. So if you're really looking to land some really hard power shots, it's really not the best for that. It's more for kind of precision, speed, and working angles with those type of bags. Obviously, you have the longer style banana bags that you see a lot being used in kickboxing and Muay Thai. Those are basically just a longer version of a traditional heavy bag. Typically they're not as densely filled, because they're being used for like leg kicks and whatnot, so it's a little bit more forgiving on your body. But you have those longer style banana bags. And then another category that's really similar as far as shape goes, but different in density and feel, is going to be the aqua bags. Now, typically you can get them from like Everlast, a Tidal, Ringside, but what a lot of people have been doing, including myself, is they're basically rebranded aqua buoys or water buoys. So Polyform and TaylorMade are the main manufacturers. This is a LD4 or LD4 model. This is a little bit more cylindrical, so it's going to mimic a traditional heavy bag, but they also have the bulb style aqua bags that are just like the body snatcher bags. Are just round, and they're excellent for hooks and uppercuts. Not a lot of people like them for straight punches because you don't get the same kind of movement and feel like you do with the traditional heavy bag, but they're still very effective for working and having that mobility and moving around it, because it swings a little bit more and it doesn't have as low as a bottom, so you can actually get underneath the bag. And then lastly is going to be the actual density of the bag. So another thing to consider, both in terms of feel, glove life as far as padding goes, and your personal body and how it feels when you punch a bag. They have cylindrical bags out there that are made by like Ringside and Tidal, that are standard fill. They use more densely packed clothing and rags. Sometimes they put sand in there to add weight to make sure that it gets to weight. But sometimes they're very, very dense. So when you hit it, it feels like you're punching a wall, and you have to have gloves that are much more protected, that have denser layered foam in there. That way it doesn't go right through your knuckles. Not a lot of people like using those because it puts a lot of wear and tear on your body, your joints, and your tendons and your bones. You start to feel it a lot more, especially when it comes to recovery. So those densely filled bags are not the most popular, although you get a really nice good crack out of them. You have more of the, then you have the more of the medium filled bags that take time to break in, like this Nazo bag. It's a little bit more on the dense side, but the more you hit it, it really starts to break in. And within a month of me using it, a couple days a week, and now it feels excellent when you hit it. It has a great pop, but it doesn't feel like you're hitting a wall. And then you have more of the soft fill bags. I actually did a review on the Tidal soft strike bag, and a lot of people are fans of that, because when you hit it, it has, I guess you can say it's a little bit more of a lifelike feel, because the padding is not as dense, so it actually feels like your punches is sinking into that. More forgiving on the joints, just a much more comfortable punching experience or boxing experience if you're looking for something that you're not going to get a lot of wear and tear on your body, as well as your gloves. If you have a pair of gloves that are like the Mexican style latex gloves that typically break down quicker because of the kind of foam they use, then a softly filled bag is a lot better than the hard filled ones, just because it's more just forgiving overall. So you're not punching an object that is that hard. And then lastly is going to be your aqua bag. So that's kind of its own category in its own, because there's no foam in here. It's not filled with any kind of clothing. So the density on this, it depends on how you hit it. It has more of like a sinking feeling, just like you're punching into flesh. And people love this bag or this style of bag because you can really hit it with some really hard, heavy power shots, and you don't get the same wear and tear. It's almost like your punch sinks into the bag rather than bounces off the surface of it. So you see a lot of pros like Canelo who loves to use the aqua bag, just because you can leverage a lot of your shots like you would a traditional heavy bag. But I think just the wear and tear on your body is not as bad, so you see them using that a lot more, because they can essentially do the same thing on a regular bag with this and just be, I guess you can call it, less mileage on your body. But you get more of a kind of like a life-like sinking feeling, much different than a traditional heavy bag. So one thing I do want to mention is that if you're a gym owner, obviously, then it's great to have a variety of heavy bags in your gym, because there's different people want to use different kinds of bags, and it switches things up. And I know for myself, when I train at the gym, I love using different bags because it switches things up. It forces you to kind of readjust what you're working on and making sure that you have the correct fundamentals when you're throwing your punches. So I love that, and it just kind of keeps things fresh. So again, making sure that you pick the correct shape and density of the bag is really important. The last thing you want to consider is the brand and the material that the bag is made from. Now, branding is not so much important as it is the actual quality and the material that the bag is made of. You wouldn't be surprised to find that a lot of the companies that we know of, like Rival, Nazo, Outslayer, Pro Boxing Supplies, are most likely made in the same factory here in the United States, obviously to the spec of the company, and then they just, the manufacturer ships them out for the company to resell them to the general public. So that's not an uncommon process. I mean, you see the same thing happen with boxing gloves that are made in like Pakistan or China. They make them for the company, put their tag, their branding on it, and then they ship them out. So you just want to make sure that the bag you're getting has a good reputation, a good review and rating from people who have used it before. That's why it comes in hand to have like YouTube to watch these review videos, or even looking at the reviews online. You can Google it. So branding, a lot of it's the same product, they just kind of rebrand them. Unless you're getting a bag that's like imported from overseas, like Twins. I know Yocal, Fairtex makes their own kind of style heavy bags and bags for Muay Thai. So obviously the quality is going to be on a different level in terms of the kind of leather they use, the stitching. It's a little different overseas than they do. You know, everywhere you go is going to be a different style. So, you know, if you get one that's made overseas, then there may be some big differences there. Another thing is material-wise, you still have traditional leather heavy bags, but you're starting to see a big shift into the synthetics, like these nylons that are like a ripstop nylon type material that is really rugged. You're seeing a lot of companies use that. And then you're also seeing a lot of companies kind of gravitate to using the aqua bag, just because from a freight and shipping standpoint, these are not as heavy and big to carry as far as overhead goes. And a lot of people as consumers that want to purchase these don't want to pay, you know, $50, $60, $70 for a freight shipping fee. And then they have to carry this 100 to 150 pound bag into their garage, kind of, you know, lump it around. Where with this, it just comes deflated. It's super lightweight, and it's much more easier to work with, and you can fill it up with water. So both from a buyer and a seller perspective, it's a really great deal. But some people still are not fans of them. They'll go with a traditional heavy bag that's you know, filled with rags. But that's completely up to you. But that would be the last thing to consider, is going to be the branding, which I'm not a big you know, critic of, as far as, okay, if it's not Ringside, I'm not going to buy it. If that's not Title, or if it's Fairtex, I'm not big into that at all. As long as the quality is good, and it fits my needs as far as how it feels when I hit it, and if I need it for uppercuts or working body, then that's what really matters to me. And I think quality wise, just look at some of the reviews that are out there, and then when you get the product, you can inspect it yourself to see how the stitching looks, how it's, you know, how it's packed. It should be evenly packed on the inside. So if you hit it at the very bottom, it shouldn't feel rock solid compared to the middle or even the top. Everything should feel equal and seamless in terms of the consistency of the padding. So make sure you're looking for that. And then outside of that, yeah, it's just looking at the reviews from them, kind of word of mouth to see who's used the bags before. And then even some of your local gyms may have those bags already in use. And then that gives you an idea of how that bag is weathered over time, with multiple people using it, not just yourself. So that's my best recommendation for you guys looking to choose a heavy bag. I just wanted to kind of break it down in section for kind of factors for you guys to determine which one's right for you. Hopefully I helped you a little bit with this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.